So the situation in France is really, really escalating. In fact, I didn't expect it to. I never expected anything like this to actually happen. Not even during the election when Marine Le Pen and Macron were facing up against each other. I thought that there was just going to be some at the most disgruntled people over Macron and maybe a few protests. But this has gone far beyond what I've ever thought. We already seen that the Yellow Jackets have been protesting all around Paris as a result of rising gas taxes across the entire country. Now, for those of you who don't know, it's basically falls upon rural areas. These areas often tend to head to major cities like Paris, Nice, Marseille, Orléans, those kinds of places, because that's where all the major financial centers and businesses are, and they need to take transports to pay for transport in order to get there. A lot of times, it's either fuel for their cars or for trains. In fact, I can attest to this because when I was in with my extended family in 2015, when we mainly used to get to and from their house and to Paris was a train. And that's where a lot of their own business is actually at. So that in turn would make sense for why the Yellow Jackets are mad as they are right now. But it has gone way worse. In fact, recently, everybody's beating me to the punch about this, but Emmanuel Macron recently called most of the Yellow Jackets thugs, and people are calling this Emmanuel Macron's deplorable moment. I would agree, but for some reason, I think that this actually goes a little bit farther, because the Yellow Jackets seem to be more populist and is more open to the left and the right. So he's basically calling almost everyone in the country who does not think the way he does as thugs. And again, that's not a good thing to say about your own population, especially for the president of France. As a result, a lot of people were getting very pissed about that. And the protests have been growing and growing and growing. And we've been in the third week so far of these protests. Riots have been occurring not just in Paris, but in all over France. And they've actually spread out through multiple parts of Europe. There's been some newsletters about protests in the Netherlands. And I think there was also some in Germany, though I cannot specifically report whether or not that's the case. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was happening there as well. I mean, look at the situation with the microcrisis and with Angela Merkel and just everything that's going on in Europe. Just take a look at that. That's actually what helped create the Yellow Jackets movement in the first place. I mean, it's no longer just about the fuel taxes. It's about the migrant crisis itself, because now the government is not really focusing much on France, but it's focusing on the outside. So, well, like I said before, migrants and the elite of Paris. That's all that they're focusing on. And again, people are very pissed, and you can see in Emmanuel Macron's own presidential approval polls. It's in the near 20s. The near 20s, that's basically a death blow for any president. And I think it's already been either a year or two in the Macron administration. That is completely it's completely pathetic for a president to go that low in just his first or second year. If you guys don't recall, there was President Park Geun-hye. She was the first female president of South Korea, and she was impeached as a result from a scandal involving corruption and dealings with a cult. But I'm not here to talk about that. In her final year, her term, which is only one term, was supposed to end in 2017. She was then impeached and was forced to get out of office, and that was just only in her 5th year. She managed to hold out that long, and Macron is not doing so well as compared to her. He is doing horribly. I mean, currently there's been massive riots all around France, and there's been police crackdowns with these protests, some of which are very excessive. Now there's actually beginning to be talks of Emmanuel Macron placing all of France under martial law. If that wasn't bad enough, all this is just ensuring that not only is he not going to get reelected, but it may just cause him to resign from his government position. And there might be a new election. I do not know the whole process of the French presidential elections, but if I were to make a guess, that there would be a special election involved with a new president, or maybe just an acting president who was originally vice president, kind of like what we have here. Anyway, he's obviously, it's making this hard on himself and his administration. His administration has become very unpopular. And like I said before, it's so bad that people are beginning to call this violence a possible civil war, or even something similar to the French Revolution 2.0. In fact, I saw as a thumbnail for another YouTube video by Red Pill Shark, he actually showed that there was a mock guillotine that was being assembled by some of the Yellow Jackets. I mean, if that doesn't show how bad your approval is and how much the French populace hates you, then I don't know what will. Maybe Macron is just blind. I don't know. But still, this is just the result of the crisis that's been going on across Europe. There's been high levels of taxes, an isolated focus, and more like just a focus on migrants and specific other groups, and causing others to be considered as outcasts. In this case, it's the rural people of France. So that would definitely explain a whole lot of why this whole protest and this whole movement is so popular. And honestly, what I think is going to happen is that it's going to end up in the same way as how Italy, Poland, Hungary, and many others have gone through. There's going to be a nationalist government where the government focuses on the people of their country first, and everyone else is second. That is what I think is going to happen. When Macron resigns from his office, or when the next presidential election comes in. And I think this would be a great time for Front National to take a center stage and actually claim the presidency for once. I mean, they did so well before when they were facing Macron with at least a third of the votes. With what's going on now, I wouldn't be surprised if they would actually win. I wouldn't. I think that with with the entire French population seen as outcast by their own governments and believing that they no longer care for them, there's going to be a major change. That's why I think it's going to happen, and it could be either violently or through peacefully through elections. Again, it's going to happen whether we like it or not. Hopefully, it's peaceful. But considering what's been going on with already 3 people dead and over 150 people injured, I wouldn't be. A part of me, it would not be too shocked if violence escalated to the point of civil war, or to some other form of political violence. I don't know what other forms of political violence would be, but nonetheless, there would be a huge discontent between the French people and their own government. My name is Noemi, and I'm the Arc Truth. Please post your comments down below, like this video, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Bye.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain.